Hello again, I'm Jeff Jr. from Trajan Wealth, and this week we're going to be talking about the forecasted stock market trends for this summer. Now, right now the market is experiencing a lot of volatility as we head into July. You may even be wondering, is the stock market going to be as hot as the temperature? Should I stay in the stock market or should I sell? Now, before you decide if you should liquidate or not, let us talk about what's happening with the stock market. Now, stocks continue to move up and down as risk-on and risk-off positioning by portfolio managers continue to create stock market momentum. However, despite all of the trading, the markets have remained relatively flat. We are experiencing the greatest unknown in modern history, and one that's even more economically devastating than the stock market crash during the Great Depression. This pandemic is igniting a stock market landscape with no momentum at this point, no forward progress, and really no clear direction. With the stock market's performance flat for some time now, investors are experiencing sharp reversals as this virus shifts. One thing that investors need to remember that while COVID-19 cases are rising or falling, consumer sentiment is tracking the virus. This tracking is positive one minute, contrary the next minute, and so on. We expect this trend to continue through the summer and into the fall of this year. The uncertainty over this virus will continue to batter the markets as investors sell off or buy based upon the response to economic and future forecasting, stock market news, and COVID-19 data. Just as parts of our country are heating up, COVID-19 is also turning up its heat. As hard as it is not to be reactionary to what the stock market is doing, liquidating during times of economic depression can negatively impact your portfolio and is nearly impossible to reverse. Investors that liquidate their portfolio early during the last recession did not fully recover until a decade or more. You don't want to make this mistake. This scenario could be the same for today's investors if they prematurely liquidate ahead of economic recovery. Depressions are a normal part of the economic cycle, as uncomfortable as they may be. If you're a long-term investor, which you should be, staying in the market will be in your best interest. Try to remain neutral to what is happening in the stock market, neither hot nor cold, until the risk or reward to your portfolio becomes clear. Going forward, there are signals that economic recovery has begun in the US. Unemployment is decreasing, and people are, in fact, returning to work. Another positive that you don't hear a lot about are COVID-related deaths. They're decreasing significantly. Less than 1% of the population in the United States have tested positive for the virus, and 1/3 of 1% only have died. This is incredibly low. Don't buy into the hype, and also remember, it's election season, and rhetoric and emotions are going to run extremely high. Thus, economic and pandemic data are showing a recovery in the US and around the world. Since the world's economies tie together through imports and exports, the stock markets and, ultimately, the GDP of every country will and are starting to show signs of improvement. States in the US are starting to open for business and consumer confidence is returning. Confidence will be a gradual process, and as I previously explained, investing is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Lastly, what should you do during periods of uncertainty this summer when the stock market's performance doesn't make any sense to you? Continue to focus on the long-term goals that you've set for yourself and don't react to daily or even weekly market movements, and continue to put money in even if it goes down. Don't get too emotional about this stuff. Remember not to be optimistic or too pessimistic. Half the time the market's up, half the time the market's down, but know it trends in an upward manner. Stick to the allocation inside your portfolio and continue to invest consistently. Let the markets do their thing. You'll thank me in a few years, even if the markets go down next week. As challenging as volatility can be, this summer will present opportunities for investing that you don't want to miss. Regardless of this virus, my team and I at Trajan Wealth specialize in helping people like you during good and bad times, and I invite you to contact us today. Until next time, I'm Jeff Jr.